Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to be talking about cold weather camping and camping during the winter time. How do you stay warm both in a tent or a hammock? We're going to cover both today, so let's get started. Alright guys, so to get things started, I'm going to cover some clothing items before we move into more of the sleeping gear. So on the table I have a couple items including my hat. So it is cold out today. I do have a toque on. That's probably the biggest thing that I use when I sleep. I either roll the flap down over top of my eyes if it is big enough, or I switch to a full face balaclava, also known as a ski mask. This one is from Misty Mountain. It's made for snowmobiling. It's very, very thick, and as you can see, it has an open eyelet there, and it works really well for both in a hammock, or if I'm not using a sleeping bag, if I happen to be using a top quilt and I need a little bit more head insulation, that is what I will use, or a toque on top of my head. Now moving down to the complete opposite end of the body, we're going to talk about feet. These are slippers. These are from Baffin, and they are not down, so these are synthetic. And the reason why I went with a synthetic bootie is essentially what they are. They're slippers for your feet. Is when you step on these, they don't compress underneath like down insulation does. Meaning when I step on my tent floor, or if I happen to step out of my hammock onto a ground sheet, these are not going to compress much like down would. Therefore, my feet are still warm. So these are little Baffin booties. Very nice. They come up quite high on the ankle, keeping my feet toasty warm, both in a hammock, in a tent, in a sleeping bag. You name it, these work really, really great. Another item that I have here, it's already out of the stuff sack because I've lofted them up. These are down fill pants. So these are from Nature Hike, and they are 800 fill power, and they are very, very nice and warm. Now, there are some limitations with these pants. You don't want to wear them near fire, so spitting embers will melt them. And you don't really want to be rolling around on an abrasive surface such as rock or maybe wood, because it can pick little holes in it, and then you'll have a hole in your pants and you'll be losing downfill. However, these are excellent for wearing inside of a sleeping bag, in a hammock, just lounging around camp. They're super lightweight. They have a drawstring on the front and a snap and zip enclosure. So if you do need to unzip and get them on or off, or maybe a bathroom break, they're a great piece of clothing to have. Also, if you need to increase the warmth of your sleeping bag or your top quilt, these are excellent at doing so. So those are pants. And I do have one more additional item for clothing. And this is kind of out there in left field. This is weight dependent. It's not really heavy, but it is a heated jacket. So this one's coming from Kemimoto. And I will have a review on many battery operated clothing items in the future. So this is from Kemimoto. It is a full jacket, and that is the battery bank. So it's a very small battery bank. It doesn't really weigh much. I want to say 1 pound for the battery. It does have inputs for a USB-C and USB micro. It also has an output for a USB, meaning you can literally charge your phone with this, or a headlamp, whatever you choose to do. This is a full winter jacket, so it literally has a hood. It's got nice puffy sleeves, nice puffy body, and have a silver kind of reflective interior to it. Many pockets all over, and this thing gets incredibly hot. I do believe it has some information here on the warmth. I believe it goes up to 40 degrees Celsius, which is incredibly warm. If you guys are looking for more information on this, check out my review, which I will be doing probably in about a week or two with many other pieces of heated clothing option. But this is another great option. Now, the reason why I'm including the heated jacket is because you can also use this as a heated blanket. So when I'm inside of my tent or hammock, I don't have to necessarily put this on. I could drape it over top of me like a blanket, and this entire heated system will keep me warm, as well as when you wake up in the morning and let's say you don't have a warm jacket and you just want your jacket warm, you're out truck camping, you're out snowmobiling or whatever, you could turn the button on the jacket and preheat it, and then when you do crawl out of your sleeping bag and throw this on, it is really, really hot. So check out my review of that. It should be up within about a week or two on more clothing items. So those are some helpful items for clothing, and of course many other pieces that you already have in your personal kit. clothing is kind of a touchy situation because everybody's different. So I'm going to roll out some of this camping gear, some of the sleeping gear options, and we're going to take a look at some of these on a ground sheet in the back, and we're going to go through one at a time and talk about pros and cons. All right, guys, so we do have a lot of gear options here that I want to go through. First off, I've got the booties on. So I'm on top of a tarp. I got my warm booties on. I'm nice and warm. They've got some nice rubberized grippers on the bottom too, so it actually helps to stick to the tarp. I've never really noticed that before, but these are incredibly warm. I will say that. I've used them all winter last winter, and they were awesome inside of the hammock and the tent. So the first thing I want to talk about is sleeping pads. So I'm just going to push these quilts and stuff out of the way. And we're going to talk about Therm-A-Rest. So I have two pads from Therm-A-Rest. We're going to talk about the NeoAir X Therm, which is probably the most popular winter pad on the market. In my opinion, it is the best. It's coming in at an R value of 6.9. I do not have a review of this just because this pad has so many reviews out there on YouTube that it is in a world of itself, and it is absolutely awesome. So same thing with this pad. I used it all winter last winter, the spring, the fall, you name it. Absolutely warm as a standalone pad. An R value of 6.9. I've used this at -25, -26 degrees Celsius in the winter on a frozen lake with no tent, no tarp, just this and my winter sleeping bag, and I was warm all night long. So I'm just going to roll this out really quickly. For those of you who are not familiar with the Therm-A-Rest X Therm, it is basically it's a honeycomb construction of Mylar inside. So this is the max version, and this is coming in at over $300 Canadian. So it is very expensive, but it is very lightweight and it packs down extremely small. The pad does come with a stuffed sack, and it's also a pump sack. So I'll kind of run you guys through a couple of pump sacks here worth of air, and basically you pump in the nice ambient air, so you're not breathing warm, moist air inside of the pad, which will then turn into ice crystals when you're sleeping, making you incredibly cold. So I'm going to fill this up. It takes about 8 to 10 pump sacks full of ambient air, and give you guys a rundown of that, and we're going to talk about the other sleeping pad, and then we're going to talk about combining them and how that'll work for winter camping. Okay guys, so here we've got the NeoAir X Therm all the way inflated, and like I said, this thing is incredibly warm. This is the max version, so it is a rectangle. It is very wide. It's probably the largest pad in the Therm-A-Rest NeoAir X Therm line that you could possibly get. The smaller ones are a little bit more affordable, but this guy is extremely warm in itself. Give you guys a little test lay here. It is nice and thick and very nice and padded. Like, this covers my entire body. I'm only 5'7", so I'm not the tallest individual, and this covers my entire body head to toe, and I can already feel the warm air starting to build underneath of me, believe it or not. These things heat up incredibly quickly. So if it's in your budget, this would be my personal suggestion for an all-around sleeping pad. You do not need anything else other than this on the ground. At least for me, -25, -26, sleeping directly on ice. Nothing underneath of it, nothing on top of it, just the pad, me in a sleeping bag, of course. Now, if you do not have a very expensive warm sleeping pad, you can add one of these guys to it. This is another Therm-A-Rest product. This is the Ridge Rest, coming in at an R value of 1.9, I believe. This is the one with foil on the top and then just green on the bottom. Now, if you do add a closed cell pad on top of your pad, your insulative pad, you will retain more R value than placing it underneath. I know this is an age-old kind of debate. People say put it on top, put it underneath. It works better if you put it on top, and it has actually been proven in labs. So the reason why you want to put it on top to retain body heat is this pad will redirect the heat right back at your body before it passes through the pad. If you place this underneath of the pad, so let's say we unrolled it and we placed it underneath, while this will still work and it will still insulate, and it will also protect your pad underneath from any poking sticks or rocks if there is not snow, what will happen is your body heat will reflect from the inside of the pad, but there is a percentage that will actually pass through the pad and basically be cooled down before it ever gets a chance to return back to your body. So it's going to reflect off of that and come back up. You're actually going to reflect less heat than you would initially just by placing that on top and reflecting all of your body heat and minimizing the transfer of heat going through the pad. So I know a lot of people will debate that, but this actually works better for winter camping as opposed to putting it underneath. And I would highly recommend that you never put either of your sleeping pads inside of a sleeping bag, because it will actually compress your sleeping bag. You want your pad on the outside, so these little micro grooves here can actually loft your sleeping bag material. And often what will happen is if you put your pad inside of your sleeping bag, not only are you going to crush your sleeping bag material on the cold ground, but you're also going to trap a lot of moisture on top of the sleeping pad, which is then going to turn into your body getting wet and starting to cool off in the evening. So that is sleeping pads. I do have a number of insulation options behind me. I'm going to get some of them out, lay them out on the side here on this tarp and let them loft up, and we're going to go through one at a time, and then we're going to talk about how we can get those to work with the sleep pads. All right, guys, so I've chosen to put the camera up high so you guys can kind of have a overhead look at what we've got going on here. I have 3 sleeping bags, actually 2 sleeping bags and 1 top quilt. All of these are downfill products, going from the warmest to the medium to the coldest, or more of the entry season type insulation that you would use spring, fall, early winter, moving into kind of really cold winter to extreme winter. So what I've got over here is the Featherstone Moon Dance Top Quilt. I've got an Outdoor Vitals down bag. This is a 0 degree Fahrenheit, also known as negative 18 degree down sleeping bag, mummy style. And then I've got my AEGISMAX Ultra. This is a whopping negative 63 degrees Celsius extreme. The comfort is negative 32 degrees Celsius. That thing is a monster. It is absolutely warm. We'll talk more on that and this. First, I want to start with the top quilt. So if you guys are into more of an ultralight setup or possibly hammock camping, this top quilt would be your ticket. It is blaze orange on the inside, very nice. It has a whole bunch of buckles. So right now I have 2 of them done up. There are still 2 more that you can do up to kind of cinch around your body. This is a great option for 0 degrees to like 0 degrees Celsius to about negative 5 degrees Celsius. I wouldn't push this any colder by itself, but it does work extremely well both in a hammock or on the ground inside of a tent. And I'll just kind of shove my feet inside of here, give you guys a quick look at some of the loft. So you guys can see right there, it is a very lofty downfill top quilt, and it is very warm too. So this is actually a really nice option both in a hot tent or in a hammock system. I really do enjoy the freedom of it, how I can just kind of pop out of it, roll over, do what I got to do, and then kind of throw it back over. Now keep that in mind, because you'll probably notice that my other 2 sleeping bags are not side zip, they're actually center zip, more on that freedom. So coming out of the top quilt, we'll kick that out of the way. Like I said, top quilts are very versatile. This one I do have a review on, showing more in depth, but you can actually undo these buckles and you can unzip the quilt and turn it into a gigantic down blanket for 2 people, or possibly just a nice little throw blanket while you're in your tent or hammock, a little bit less constrictive. So that is a top quilt option right there. It works really well. Coming into the first down bag, like I said, this is an Outdoor Vitals product. Now these 2 are still kind of lofting up. They've been packed away all summer. This is the first time either of these have been out of their stuff sacks in months. But like I said, it's got a center zip. It is a nice kind of a puke green color on the inside. I actually kind of dig that color. And it is just a very nice lofty sleeping bag. So I'm going to jump inside of this one so you guys can kind of get an idea of size and fitment if I can get my feet in here. And this one is in a long and wide version. Even though I'm not the tallest individual, the reason why I like getting the longer sleeping bags for this one specifically is because I can actually migrate the down where I need to, because there's about an extra 12 inches of down at the foot end that I'm not reaching the bottom of. So if I do find my mid or my top section colder, I can scrunch down and pull all this down up and lump it right where I need to. Generally, I just keep it down towards my foot end. But laying inside of the sleeping bag, just like this, kind of get my head in the hood, you'll notice it's center zip like I mentioned earlier. So this is awesome for being in the hammock. You can kind of tuck this up over your shoulders and be nice and warm and still have your hands mobile. It's also nice to be able to get in and out of it just like that. So when you get inside of the tent, I like sitting down and kind of zipping up versus trying to find the zipper on the side and messing around. It's also really nice if you are a hammock camper and you do like a sleeping bag. It could be a pain to try and get that zipped up on the side. These center zip sleeping bags are incredible. You just zip it right up and it's nice and easy. So I'll go ahead and zip this one up very quickly just to give you guys an idea of the loft. It is a nice YKK anti-snag zipper, so that helps out tremendously. And it's already getting warm in here, and I'm not even on a sleeping pad, so we'll zip that up a fair bit, and you guys can see, very nice. There is a draft collar on the inside to keep me nice and warm. So this is a great option for both ground sleeping and hammock sleeping, as I said, with the center zip. It makes it extremely easy to get in and out, whether you're in a hammock or on the ground. And that is getting warm. I can feel myself getting pretty hot just in that alone. So very nice option. Moving over to the ultra cold kind of sleeping bag option here. This sleeping bag is kind of a unicorn on YouTube. So far I'm the only channel that actually has one of these. Now keep in mind that AEGISMAX does make many different sleeping bags with the exact same fabric and the exact same color. So often people get this misconceived with their M3, I think it is their model, which is only good for 0 degrees. This guy is the Ultra. It is massive. It is 850 fill power goose down. It's just incredibly warm, incredibly large, but it packs down super small. So it is 850 fill iFlex. It is DWR treated down, so very nice, and it holds up well outside of a tent if you do happen to get moisture on it. So unzipping this all the way, you'll notice it is kind of a top. It's not a side zip, but it's more on the top. So it's not totally on the side, it's not totally on the top. And this is basically a down coffin. Literally, it is just absolutely monstrous and warm. So I'll crawl inside of this guy, give you guys a look at what kind of loft we've got going on here. And the reason why I'm crawling in each sleeping bag is I want you really to look and see what's happening with the size, because we're going to talk about price point after, and this should help you understand why things are priced the way they are priced. And that is a massive cloud of down, guys. Massive cloud. So I'm going to zip this guy up, get my arm in here. Very, very big. A lot of goose down going on here, guys. Very lofty, and I'm already starting to build up quite a bit of heat. It's crazy how fast these do get warm. I can feel it on the top side, so I'm going to jump out of that before it gets too hot. But again, with the side zipper on the side, kind of on the top area, it's not a true side zip. But even if I zip this up to my kind of my underpit area, you guys can see, like, it's just gigantic. This is all goose down. It's very, very, very warm. Negative 32 degrees Celsius comfort. So talking about sleeping bags and down, I don't have any synthetic sleeping bags. I do like goose down because of its compressibility. I highly recommend getting DWR treated, which is a water repellent put on the down. But talking about price, this guy is very expensive, coming in at $1,000 Canadian. This guy here, I believe, is right around the $300 to $350 Canadian mark. And the top quilt is coming in at about $189 to $200 Canadian. So there are a huge difference in prices there. This guy is monstrous. This I would use, you know, negative 20, negative 25. But unzipping it, you can actually use it in a little bit of warmer temperatures. And it packs down the same size as this, believe it or not. So there are a couple options there for sleeping bags. I highly recommend getting a really good down sleeping bag that you're going to be comfortable in. So let's get these on top of the sleeping pad just for a couple of demonstrations to see the sizing of the sleeping bags versus the pad and the layering systems and what I would do for layering the actual down products to help get down to a lower temperature. All right, so moving some of this down out of the way, I want to bring in the sleeping pad just for a moment and talk about sizing of sleeping bags, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm not the tallest individual. This is a very long pad, but length of sleeping bag may be something you might want to look into, because if you have your feet hanging off, that can cause a little bit of a cold spot. This guy here is the long and wide, so you can see it does hang off the pad a little bit, but that's your head area. Typically I take my sweater and I ball it up as a pillow, and I actually put it inside of the hood of the sleeping bag rather than outside, because then it can roll off and then you don't have a pillow. This way it's trapped inside of the sleeping bag. I got a pillow there all night long. So you guys can see right there, that is basically taking up the entire pad. That top quilt basically sits on top of that as well. Pretty much the same system. But one thing I do want to talk about is layering. So this is negative 18 degrees Celsius. Let's say I wanted to get down to negative 30. If you're far up north and you really want to get down in temperature. A lot of people like to layer their sleeping bags, which is not a bad idea, but you need to pay attention to how you're layering that, because with down, you can compress it by pressing on it, both on the bottom and both on the top. So if I overstuff this sleeping bag, I'm essentially going to be thinning the wall because there's going to be too much trying to burst out of the sleeping bag. So you want to make sure that you put the largest item on the outside, that being the top quilt. So if I zip this all the way up, and let's just pretend that I'm inside of there right now. It's nice and lofty, I'm inside, and I have that top quilt inside of there. All that extra down is going to fill up, killing my dead air space, and that's what makes you warm during wintertime, is dead air space. Basically a big cavity of air that is trapped, that your body heats and it can't escape or can't be blown around. Just as right now I'm in the open air space, it's cold air, it's blowing around. It's impossible to heat this air unless you contain it. So the air inside of the sleeping bag is contained and it will heat up with my body, and the sleeping pad will help reflect a lot of that heat, so I'm not losing it through conduction, and the sleeping pad stops me losing it from convection. So if I take this top quilt, keep in mind it's larger in girth than the top quilt is, or the sleeping bag, and if I were to unbuckle this all the way down to the foot box area, I could put the foot box in there, and there you go. That is a massively warm sleep system. And this top quilt, as well as many others, actually comes with pad straps. So you could take the pad strap and go underneath of the pad to prevent this from flopping off in the evening, and it'll help stay nice and warm. So that is a very, very warm sleep system right there, combining two pieces of gear and staying away from the $1,000 option if that's not available to you. So I would not recommend putting something very large and lofty inside of something smaller, because you're just going to constrict the down, it's going to squish down, and it's not going to be as warm. Also, you're going to be killing your dead airspace. Alright, so I hope that explanation of dead airspace and compressing your insulation was useful to some of you. Most of you probably already know that. Now, I have the down pants right here, and let's say I did want to increase the warmth of this sleeping bag from the inside, and I don't want to bring a top quilt, or I don't have a top quilt. This is how you would increase the dead air space and ultimately boost the value of the sleeping bag to get down to a colder temperature. So instead of wearing pants or base layer pants, I would jump inside of these down pants and crawl inside of it. The bonus with this is it's the same material as the sleeping bag, so it's very, very slippery and silky, meaning you can literally do like crocodile rolls inside of here and reposition yourself, and this zipper will stay top dead center all night long. It won't follow you around and get caught and tangled. So that's the bonus of using this type of material inside of there. So down pants will definitely increase the warmth of your sleeping bag without compressing the insulation and without bringing a top quilt or a blanket. Now let's say that we do have the top quilt, and I got it positioned on my pad, and obviously we don't have a hood, so that's right where this guy would come into effect. I would wear my hoodie, and I would take my balaclava, my ski mask here, I would put it on, put my hood up, and I would cinch the drawstring down on this very tight around my neck, and I'd be toasty warm all night long. Negative 20, negative 25, no problem. I've done it many times before, and it seems to work really well. Now this pad, like I said, is the cream of the crop. Your pad underneath of you is going to dictate how warm you're going to be on top of it. So if you do have to add another closed cell pad to a cheaper, more affordable pad, I highly recommend doing that, and go with the system that I've got here as a good starting point. The Therm-A-Rest Ridge Rest does prove to reflect a lot of heat, and it's absolutely light. The only problem is it is large because it is a closed cell pad, but it is very, very warm and lightweight. The other bonus with this is you can stay warm with sitting on it. So I can actually roll this all the way up. I can sit on it. I can also open it all the way up and I can lay on it on rock, snow, ice. I don't have to worry about puncturing it like I do with the Therm-A-Rest X-Therm and damaging my sleep pad. These are much more durable to put down in camp. I can kneel on it, I can sit on it, lay on it, do whatever I need, and it works both inside the tent and outside. So that's another good piece of item kit there. Now looking at the very large sleeping bag, this is extremely big and extremely lofty. This is a case where I would put a very small sleeping bag inside of here rather than going with the top quilt. Now keep in mind, this is rated for negative 32 degrees Celsius at a comfort zone. It goes much colder than that, so there's not really much need to insulate the inside of this unless you're in negative 40, negative 45 degrees of extreme Arctic conditions. Then you can get away with using the down pants inside of here, or possibly using a summer down sleeping bag and putting it inside and adding another layer of insulation, because this outer wall is massive enough to actually accommodate more insulation inside. Alright guys, so that covers tent and ground dwellers. What about all the hammock campers out there? So here I have my personal Superior Gear hammock, and the reason why I'm bringing this out is because it has an underquilt integrated into the hammock. This guy is rated for a whopping minus 40 degrees. Now a lot of you may know negative 40 Fahrenheit is the same as negative 4 Celsius. They both meet on the temperature scale. Now I do have a full review on this, so I'm not going to go too in depth with the hammock itself, but what I want to point out is it has a massive down underquilt already built into the hammock. Now this is where I would use the top quilt inside of this hammock, and it would stay absolutely warm. No problem. I don't think I would need a sleeping bag inside of here. This is definitely more than enough. But an underquilt on a hammock is absolutely vital to have underneath of you. I highly recommend using an underquilt over putting a closed cell or an open cell pad inside of your hammock. While it does work, it can be a little bit cumbersome and a little bit uncomfortable moving around in there as it does shift around. And the reason why I'm showing this specific hammock with the underquilt is because the underquilt is attached to the hammock. So it's always the exact same sag. It's always in the exact same location no matter what. So it takes out the guesswork or the kind of inconvenience of hanging the underquilt, getting it positioned properly, making sure you're not slipping out of it head or foot. And if you do sleep on a diagonal like I do, this is not going anywhere. It is part of the hammock. It's integrated. It's always going to have the right sag, the right loft, no matter what. So if you're a hammock camper, underquilts are a huge yes, and the top quilt game works awesome inside of the hammocks as well. Easy to slip in and easy to slip out of as well. Alright, so now that we've covered a few clothing options and some gear options, let's talk about some of the little tips and tricks. So we all know gloves. You can wear gloves while you sleep, whether you're in a hammock or a tent. Those are pretty universal. As far as wearing underclothing and socks and whatnot, there is a myth of wearing 4 or 5 socks will keep you warmer. It's actually not true. The more socks you put on, the more layers you put on, the less airspace you're willing to basically build up. So if I layer more and more pieces of fabric, I'm filling in that dead airspace with fabric. It will keep me warmer to a degree, but eventually it's going to stop keeping me warm, and it's actually going to make me cold because I'm not allowing any dead airspace to build up. So with socks, I highly recommend wearing a pair of fresh socks. And me personally, I like wearing these booties. That creates enough insulation and enough dead airspace that my feet are still nice and warm, and I'm not collapsing that airspace with just fabric in hopes to get warm. There is the other method of heating up a hot water bottle as well. I typically don't do that because then you have to put a water bottle inside and it's kind of pushing around down on your feet or down on your legs. You got to boil the water to put it in there, so you're either using fuel or fire to do so, and that water bottle is not going to stay hot all night. My personal suggestion is to buy something that is rated for those temperatures. So if you need a big down sleeping bag, even though it is costly, I like the saying, buy once, cry once. Get the proper gear. The hot water bottle is only going to be another piece of gear that you have to bring. It's going to be another step that you have to do as well. It's going to take up space, and you're going to have to boil the water, and the water bottle is just going to cool off. So honestly, go with a nice winter rated sleeping bag to help you out instead of going with that hot water bottle method. Also, another good way to stay warm is what you put in your body. So think of your body as a wood stove. If you put in junk food, sugar, empty calories such as softwood inside of a wood stove, it's going to burn hot, but it's not going to burn for a long time. Whereas if we were to put dense wood like oak or maple inside of the wood stove, and doing so in our body would be like fatty peanut butter, steak, protein, something more dense, complex carbs in your body, they're going to burn longer, keeping you warmer throughout the night. One other major tip is empty out your bladder. Your bladder will hold liquid and your body's forced to heat that liquid at body temperature, which is going to burn through your fuel in your body quicker. So I highly recommend emptying your bladder before going to bed, and you will be warmer longer. I also highly recommend staying hydrated on that note, because just like a car, when a car gets hot, it needs to cool down to function properly. So do our bodies. We need to stay hydrated to function properly. So make sure you're eating good, healthy foods with high fat content, complex carbs before bedtime, and empty out your bladder before you crawl in your sleeping bag or in your hammock, and that'll help you stay warmer. Plus it'll help you get more sleep throughout the night without having to get up for a bathroom break. All right, guys, so I hope a little bit of that information was useful. There is one more thing that I want to do, which is going to go on the cost plus kind of packability spectrum of things. So going with down, it is very, very expensive. Now, if I move my backpack out of the way just for 1 second, I just want to show the magnitude of this, okay? So I've got my -40 downfill under quilt built into my hammock. I then got my down pants. Let's throw those in there just for fun. I've got my down sleeping bag, comfort rating of -32 degrees Celsius. I've got my Outdoor Vitals, -18 degrees Celsius, goose down sleeping bag. I've got my Featherstone Moon Dance downfill top quilt. Do you guys get where I'm going with this? So many people are probably thinking, geez, that is a ton of insulation. How are you going to carry that in the woods? I'm going to show you. Here, get out of that pile, I've got my backpack. This backpack is, they rate it at a 50 liter. It is a 40 to 60 liter expandable. It is a roll top bag, but they advertise it as an all-around 50 liter pack. I'm gonna try and cram as many of these downfill items inside of my 50 liter backpack, and we're gonna see how much fit in there in real time. So bear with me, guys. I'm gonna start cramming it in there. I'm not gonna cut the camera at all. We're just gonna cram it in. So let's start with the -63 down sleeping bag. This is interesting because I haven't done this yet. I haven't tried it. I just have my backpack there, kind of looking at it going, geez, how many of those items can I get in the backpack? So that's the -63 in there. Let's go with the -40 hammock now. Let's cram this guy in here. And this is how I typically pack up, guys, honestly. When I take my hammock down and it's windy or cold or I'm in a hurry, cram it in there. Cram it in. That's the reason why I switched to a roll top bag, because it's multi-size. I don't have to be reliant on one size anymore. So that's in there. Let's go with the -18 Outdoor Vitals sleeping bag. We're just cramming her in there, bud. Geez, you'd be nice and warm with all this in the backpack. And then we will go, hey, let's just get the down pants in there, right? Let's get the down pants in there. And we've got the Moon Dance top quilt. Is it gonna fit, guys? Is it gonna fit? I wonder. I think it'll fit. We'll cram that in there. It actually fits to the top of the frame of the backpack, guys, and it's still going down. I can compress that even more. Let me roll it shut, and let's just kind of get it all buttoned up. There is a method to my madness here, guys. Hold on. There is something that I do want to show with this message. I'm actually surprised it all got in there, to be honest. I didn't think every piece was going to fit in there. But it fit. So I'm going to cinch all these down, and it actually can compress even more, but I think that is where we're going to call it. That is all of my down insulation inside of the backpack. It's still lightweight, guys. So if I put this on, show you guys the fit. That is a backpack full of down insulation. So The message that I'm trying to make with this, packability and compressibility. You would never ever be able to do that with synthetic insulation, only down insulation. Everything is inside of there. So that goes with the buy once, cry once scenario. If you've got the money and the funds and the means to buy Goose Down, buy it. I highly recommend it. That is all of my down insulation inside of a 50-liter pack, rolled down to the 40-liter mark. That is a lot. Okay guys, so to wrap things up, that is a backpack full of Goose Down. Very light, very packable. So I hope the information in this video was useful. There are many things that I could have touched on, but those are the basics. Eat good food, have good insulation underneath of you and on top of you. Have good multi-use clothing items, as well as the heated jacket is useful. Keep in mind, when the battery dies, it's not going to be as warm. It is still a jacket. But there is one more thing that I do want to mention, is fabric choice. There is a saying, cotton kills. I don't believe that's true. I believe stupidity kills, because I've been wearing cotton in the woods, hunting, camping all of my life during the winter time. The thing is, you need to know when to stop. You need to know when to dry out. So it's not cotton kills, because I wear wool, I wear synthetics, I wear cotton, and I'm always warm no matter what, because I stop when I need to stop and I dry my clothes out when I need to dry out. Also bring a change of clothes. That is vitally important. And just try and stay nice and dry. You don't want to sweat overnight, because that will actually freeze and make you colder. So that is all the information I got for you guys. I got a big old backpack of stuff that I take inside and get cleaned out. So if you guys like this video, let me know, and I may do more in the future. Until next time, peace out, and I'll see you in the next video.